Every morning before the city fully woke up, Adam pushed his small food cart through the quiet street, and the wheels made a soft sound as they moved over the rough road. The sky was often pale blue, and the air felt cool and calm, and Adam liked this hour because it belonged only to him. Adam was a single father, and his young son Leo was still asleep at home when Adam started his work. Life had not been kind to Adam, but it had taught him how to stay strong and patient. He sold warm bread and tea near an old bus stop, and the place was simple but familiar. People slowly began to appear as the sun rose higher, and workers walked past with tired faces and busy steps. Adam greeted everyone with a gentle smile even when they did not smile back. He believed that kindness mattered even when no one noticed it. Across the road near the bus stop there was an old bench with peeling paint and loose wood. On that bench sat a thin woman every morning without fail. She arrived early and left late, and she always sat in the same place. Her clothes were old but clean, and her hair was tied neatly behind her head. She never spoke, and she never asked anyone for help. On the first day Adam noticed her, he thought she was just quiet. He waved at her and said good morning, but she did not respond. He thought she might be ignoring him, but when their eyes met she smiled softly. Adam realized she could not hear. The next morning, Adam carried a cup of warm tea across the street and placed it beside her on the bench. He did not speak, and he did not expect anything in return. The woman looked surprised and then grateful, and she held the cup with both hands. She bowed her head slightly, and Adam nodded back. That small act became a habit. Every morning Adam brought her tea and a piece of bread. Sometimes he added a little extra when business was good. The woman never asked for more, and she never complained. She accepted everything with quiet respect and gentle smiles. Adam never asked her name, and she never asked his. They spoke through gestures and expressions and simple signs. Adam would point to the sky when the weather changed, and she would laugh silently. Sometimes Adam showed her pictures of Leo on his phone, and she would touch the screen carefully. Other vendors nearby started to notice what Adam was doing. Some whispered that he was foolish and wasting food. Others warned him that helping strangers could bring trouble. Adam listened, but he never stopped. He remembered how hard life felt after his wife passed away. He remembered nights when he had nothing but hope to hold on to. Helping the woman made him feel human again. One morning the woman handed Adam a small folded paper. Her hands shook slightly as she offered it. Adam opened it slowly and read the words written inside. "Thank you for seeing me." The words stayed with him all day and all night. Weeks passed, and the routine continued without change. The woman arrived early, and Adam prepared her tea before she even sat down. They shared smiles and silent moments that felt peaceful. Then one morning the street felt different. The air felt heavy, and the sounds around seemed sharper. Adam noticed people slowing down and looking toward the road. A black car stopped near the bus stop. Then another car stopped behind it. Then another and another. Four tall men stepped out wearing dark suits and serious expressions. They stood in a line and scanned the area carefully. The street felt quiet, and even the usual traffic noise seemed distant. The woman stood up from the bench for the first time in weeks. She straightened her clothes and took a deep breath. Her expression changed from calm to focused. A well-dressed man stepped out of the last car holding a leather briefcase. He adjusted his glasses and walked forward with slow, confident steps. The guards followed closely behind him. People stopped moving, and vendors held their breath. Adam felt his heart beat faster as the man approached his cart. The man stopped in front of Adam and looked at him closely. His voice was calm but strong when he spoke. "Are you the one who has been helping her every morning?" Adam swallowed and nodded slowly. The woman turned toward Adam, and her eyes were filled with emotion. It was an expression Adam had never seen before. The man opened his briefcase, and everyone watched in silence. The man slowly reached into the briefcase and pulled out a thick folder, and the sound of the clasp closing felt loud in the quiet street. Adam stood still with his hands resting on the cart and his mind racing with worry and confusion. The guards remained silent, but their presence made the air feel heavy and tense. The well-dressed man turned slightly toward the woman and spoke to her calmly. She nodded and placed her hands together as if asking permission to continue. Then she faced Adam again and looked at him with deep respect. The man explained that the woman's name was Maya and that she could not hear since childhood. He said she lived alone and preferred silence over pity. He shared that Maya had lost her family many years ago and trusted very few people. Adam listened quietly and nodded to show he understood. He did not interrupt, and he did not defend himself. He only hoped he had not done something wrong. The man continued speaking and explained that he was her lawyer and caretaker. He said Maya owned property and savings left behind by her parents. He said she lived simply by choice and avoided attention. People nearby whispered and exchanged surprised looks. The vendors who once mocked Adam now watched with wide eyes. The lawyer looked directly at Adam and said Maya had written about him in her notebook. He said she wrote about the man who brought her tea without asking questions. He said she wrote about the man who treated her like a person, not a problem. Adam felt his chest tighten as he listened. He had never imagined his small actions mattered so much. The woman reached into her bag and pulled out another folded paper. She handed it to Adam slowly and waited patiently. Adam opened it and read the words written carefully inside. You gave me dignity when others gave me silence. Adam lowered his head and felt warmth rise behind his eyes. The lawyer explained that Maya wanted to thank Adam properly. He said she wanted to help him and his son. He said she noticed Leo's photo and understood Adam's struggle. Adam shook his head gently and raised his hands to refuse. He did not want money and he did not want favors. He only helped because it felt right. The woman stepped closer and touched Adam's arm lightly. She looked into his eyes and smiled softly. She placed her hand over her heart and then pointed toward him. The lawyer translated her signs and said she wanted Adam to accept help as a gift, not a debt. He said kindness deserved kindness in return. The guards stepped back and gave space. The tension slowly faded and the street breathed again. The lawyer offered Adam an envelope and said it was support for Leo's education. He said it was not charity but appreciation. He said Maya insisted on it. Adam hesitated and looked at the woman again. She nodded firmly and smiled wider. Slowly Adam accepted the envelope with both hands. He bowed his head slightly just like she had done weeks ago. People around them watched in silence and some felt shame for their earlier words. The vendors who once laughed now looked down quietly. The black cars remained parked but the guards relaxed their posture. The lawyer thanked Adam and stepped back. Before leaving, the woman turned one last time and signed something slowly with her hands. The lawyer smiled and said she wished to visit again. He said she wanted to continue their mornings together. The cars drove away one by one and the street returned to normal. But nothing felt the same anymore. Adam stood beside his cart holding the envelope and the memory of her smile. He looked at the bench across the road and felt grateful. That morning customers came and went, but Adam's heart felt lighter. He knew something important had happened not just for him but for his son. When Adam returned home later, Leo ran to him with a bright smile. Adam lifted him gently and held him close. He knew life would still be hard, but it would never feel empty again. And somewhere not far away, a quiet woman felt seen and safe knowing kindness still lived in simple places. The next morning, Adam woke up earlier than usual, and the first thought in his mind was the quiet woman and the envelope he had placed carefully in his kitchen drawer. He made tea at home and packed Leo's lunch with extra care, and he checked Leo's school bag twice. Leo noticed his father's serious face and asked if something was wrong, and Adam smiled and said everything was fine. When Adam reached the old bus stop corner, the air felt colder and the streetlights still glowed faintly. He set up his cart and arranged the bread neatly, and he poured tea into cups with steady hands. But his eyes kept drifting toward the bench across the road. For a moment he feared Maya would not return. Then he saw her. Maya walked slowly toward the bench with her small bag held close, and her steps looked calmer than before. She sat down and looked at Adam with a gentle smile, as if the morning itself had become friendly. Adam carried her tea and bread across the street, and placed it beside her, as always. But this time Maya pointed at the bench and invited him to sit for a moment. Adam hesitated because customers might arrive, but the street was still quiet. He sat at the edge of the bench and kept his hands folded as if he was a guest in a place he did not own. Maya opened a small notebook and a pen and wrote slowly. She pushed the notebook toward Adam. "Why do you help me every day?" Adam read the words and felt unsure how to answer. He picked up the pen carefully and wrote back in simple lines. "Because you should not sit hungry and alone. Because my son and I once needed help too. Because I believe good things should not die in this world." Maya read the lines and her eyes softened. She placed her fingers gently on the page as if the words had weight. Then she wrote again. "People see me as a problem. You see me as a person." Adam looked down and felt his throat tighten. He wanted to say something, but he knew she could not hear. So he nodded and placed his hand over his heart. From that day their mornings changed slightly, but in a good way. Maya began bringing small notes and Adam began writing short replies. It became their quiet conversation. They talked about simple things like the weather and food and how busy the street looked. Maya sometimes drew small pictures of the bench and the sky and a tiny cart with wheels. Leo's name appeared more often in her notes. A week later Maya came earlier than usual and she was not alone. The lawyer returned, but this time without the long line of cars and without the heavy presents. Only one car stopped and 2 guards waited at a distance. The lawyer greeted Adam politely and handed him a new folder. Adam's hands started to shake slightly as he opened it. Inside were documents about a small education fund and a clear plan for Leo's school needs. It included books and uniforms and even an after-school program. Adam felt overwhelmed and he tried to refuse again. The lawyer raised his hand and stopped him gently. He explained that Maya had chosen this on her own and it was prepared properly. He said there would be no public attention and no pressure. He said Maya wanted quiet help because she understood quiet pain. Adam looked toward Maya and she nodded firmly. She held her notebook up and showed a new message. "Let me do one good thing with what I have." Adam could not argue with that. He bowed his head and accepted the plan with respect. That evening Adam used part of the support to buy Leo new shoes because his old ones had worn thin. Leo jumped with joy and ran around the small room like it was a festival day. Adam watched him and felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt relief. But comfort did not last without shadows. In the same neighborhood there was a man named Rashid who owned a larger food stall near the market. Rashid had noticed the black cars and the guards the first day, and he had heard the whispers. He had always believed that money should bring power and power should be used. He began watching Adam more closely. One morning Rashid approached Adam's cart with a fake smile. He asked friendly questions about the woman on the bench. He asked if Adam knew her family and if she was important. Adam kept his answers short and simple. He said she was a friend and that was all. Rashid's smile faded quickly. He leaned closer and said Adam should think about his own future. He suggested Adam could earn more if he connected himself to Maya. He hinted that Adam could ask for business support and better locations and more profit. Adam's face hardened and he shook his head firmly. He told Rashid that kindness was not a trade. Rashid walked away but his eyes stayed sharp and cold. He began spreading rumors that Adam was using Maya for money. He whispered to customers that Adam was not honest. Some people believed him and stopped buying from Adam for a few days. Adam noticed the change and felt hurt, but he did not panic. He knew the truth, and he knew Maya would not be fooled by noise. Still the stress returned to his shoulders like an old weight. He worried about Leo and about the small peace he had found. He worried that his quiet life might become a target for people who loved control. One afternoon as Adam packed up his cart, he saw Maya standing nearby. She was not on the bench and she was looking at the street like she was searching for something. Adam hurried across the road and asked with gestures if she was okay. Maya pointed toward Rashid's stall in the distance, and her expression was serious. She opened her notebook and wrote quickly. "Someone followed you today." Adam's heart jumped. He looked around, and suddenly the street felt different again. He remembered the warning from other vendors, and he felt a cold fear in his stomach. Maya wrote again with firmer strokes. "Do not be scared. I will protect you and Leo." Adam stared at the words, and then at her face. Maya looked calm but determined. In that moment, Adam understood that Maya was not only a quiet woman on a bench. She was someone with power and reach, and she was choosing to stand beside him. And far away near the corner of the market, Rashid watched them with narrowed eyes and a plan forming in his mind. The next few days felt heavy for Adam, even though he tried to stay calm and focused on his work and his son. He woke early every morning and prepared his cart with care and walked to the bus stop with steady steps. But his eyes now watched the street more closely, and his ears searched for signs of trouble. Maya continued to arrive every morning, and her presence brought Adam comfort. She sat on the bench with the same quiet grace, but her attention felt sharper than before. Sometimes she looked beyond the street, and sometimes she wrote short notes warning Adam to stay aware. Rashid did not approach Adam again, but his stall became louder and busier. He spoke loudly to customers and laughed often as if trying to show power. He continued spreading stories about Adam, hoping to damage his trust with people. Some believed the stories, but many remembered Adam's kindness and stayed loyal. One afternoon Leo came home from school looking upset. Adam asked gently what had happened, and Leo explained that a man near the school had asked questions about his father. Adam felt his heart tighten, but he stayed calm and held Leo close. He promised Leo that nothing bad would happen and that he was safe. That same evening Adam saw Maya standing near his cart after closing time. She looked serious and held her notebook tightly. She wrote carefully and showed him the page. "The man who asked your son questions works for Rashid." Adam felt anger rise, but he controlled it and breathed slowly. He nodded and thanked Maya with a soft gesture. Maya wrote again. "Tomorrow morning things will change. Trust me." Adam did not sleep much that night, but he trusted her words. He knew Maya would not speak unless it mattered. The next morning the street looked normal at first. Adam set up his cart and served his first customers. Maya arrived and sat on the bench calmly. But soon a familiar black car stopped near the bus stop. This time more people watched closely. The lawyer stepped out followed by 2 guards. They walked straight toward Rashid's stall instead of Adam's cart. Rashid's smile faded when he saw them. The lawyer spoke calmly but firmly and showed Rashid documents. Rashid's face turned pale, and his voice dropped. People nearby stopped to watch and listen quietly. The lawyer explained that Rashid had been spreading false claims and using intimidation. He explained that witnesses had come forward and evidence was collected. He said this behavior would not continue. Rashid tried to argue, but his confidence was gone. The guards stepped closer and Rashid stepped back. Within minutes Rashid packed his stall and left the area in silence. The street felt lighter, as if a shadow had been removed. People slowly returned to their routines and whispers turned into calm talk. Some customers approached Adam and apologized quietly. Adam looked across the road and saw Maya watching him. She smiled gently and gave a small nod. Adam bowed his head deeply in gratitude. Life slowly returned to peace. Rashid never came back to the bus stop area. Adam's business improved again and people trusted him more than before. Maya continued her quiet mornings on the bench. Sometimes she brought small snacks for Leo and sometimes she drew pictures for him. Leo learned simple signs to communicate with her and their bond grew strong. Months passed and seasons changed. Adam saved enough to move into a slightly better home. Leo's school progress improved and his confidence grew. Adam felt proud watching his son grow with hope instead of fear. One morning Maya arrived later than usual and stood in front of Adam's cart. She held her notebook and wrote slowly, "I will be traveling soon. But this place will always matter to me." Adam felt a soft sadness but he smiled and nodded. He wrote back carefully. You will always have tea here. Maya smiled warmly and touched the edge of the cart as if sealing a memory. On her last morning she sat on the bench longer than usual. She watched the street wake up and watched Adam serve people with patience. She stood up and bowed to him deeply just like the first time he gave her tea. Adam bowed back with respect. When Maya left, the street felt quieter but not empty. Her kindness remained in the air and in the lives she touched. Adam returned to his routine with a calm heart. He knew kindness had changed his life without noise or force. He knew his son would grow up learning that simple goodness could shape the world. And every morning as the sun rose over the bus stop, Adam served tea with a gentle smile, knowing that being seen and seeing others was the greatest gift of all.